Welcome to Nibble Minds Talks of Self and Spirituality, where we talk about different philosophical perspectives as well as spiritual practices. And in today's video, we're going to be talking about envy. Okay, on this channel, some of the main topics I deal with are temptations, mainly lust, but within those temptations as well as desires, envy is also another one that is in there. Okay, so what is envy? Okay, how can a person be envious of something? To keep it simple, envy is when you look at somebody in their situation and you're like, hey, I want that. Or hey, I'd probably be better off if I had that. Or hey, you know what I'm saying? Why don't I have that? Or hey, they're lucky because they have that, you know what I'm saying? Like that's pretty much envy, okay? That's envy. Whenever you get to those discussions, that's pretty much that's what envy is, okay? So why is it not a great thing to have envy? Why can't it be detrimental to be envious of people, okay, and have those thoughts about people? Well, one of the first things, which is like is a spiritual concept, is a lot of the things you give your energy to, a lot of the things you give your time to, eventually consume you and eventually become to. So when you're giving it to envy, which are lower energies, lower vibes, lower vibrations, that often lead to hate, which often lead to jealousy, which could be the same as envy, which often lead to other pathways, right? That becomes an issue, and then eventually you become that, and you begin to lose focus. You begin to lose sight of what's important, and your own gifts, your own things that you bring. Okay, right? So that's why it's important to, not be envious, okay? Because in society today, especially on the phone, it doesn't even have to be on the phone. It could be as simple as somebody, walking down the street, or you're driving in your car, or you're riding your bike, or, and you quickly glance at someone driving a certain car, and you're like, man, why don't I have that? Or, vice versa. Maybe you're the person driving that nice car, right? And you see somebody riding a bike, and you're like, man, their life must be so much easier, bro. Like, they don't have all these responsibilities. Like, that's what that is, okay? And you begin to lose focus. You begin to lose sight of your own positive attributes, your own positive characteristics, when you start to focus on everything else that's outside of you, everything else that you don't have the most control over, that you don't have control over. And then you begin to not focus on the things you do have control over, the things that could put you in a different situation, in a better situation from where you're at, okay? And once again, it can lead you into these lower vibrations, okay? So now you may be in a situation where, you know what, you're gonna do this the right way, okay? You may have put in some time and effort. You're like, I'm gonna do this the right way. It's probably gonna take some time, okay? It's probably gonna be a little difficult, but you know what? I want this car or something, or I want this type of, shelter, type of house or something, or I want this type of eating experience, or I want these type of clothes, or this type of jewelry, or whatever it is, right? Literally whatever it is, okay? And you may at first approach that with honesty, but then when you start to envy people, you start to become jealous and start trying to look at everybody else but yourself, then you may result to stealing, okay? You may result to doing other things that just are not beneficial, okay? And I will use myself as an example. I'll use myself as an example. There was a time when I was younger, okay? And I remember this vividly, okay? I will say there's a lot of things I don't remember, but when it comes to the stuff I remember, I literally remember it vividly, very vividly. There was a time where when I was younger, I wanted this specific toy. I really wanted this specific toy. It was a wrestling toy. And we were riding the bus. I'll never forget. And, instead of me just being patient, okay, and waiting until, I probably could have afforded the toy or something like that, right? And this is elementary school, so you're a kid. So obviously there's grace, there's children. Children are gonna do childlike things, okay? But we're on the bus, and there was a person I was sitting next to, they had this wrestling toy. And I literally took this person's wrestling toy from them. Okay. They dropped it on the floor. I picked it up. Okay. They looked, they were like, hey, did you find this wrestling toy? You know, da 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 da. I was like, no, that was a lie. I had the wrestling toy. Okay. I had this wrestling toy. And what was that a result of? That was a result of envy. That was a result of jealousy. Okay. So that's just one example. Okay. Obviously, that's like a wrestling toy, and there's probably like greater examples like car theft and bank robberies, and people sleeping with people's wives and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, that's still an example of envy and jealousy. That's still an example of envy and jealousy. Okay. Because what did I do in that moment? I lost sight of the things that were within my control. I lost sight of the things that were actually important. What was important at that moment? I still had toys to play with. I still had other things that brought me plenty of joy, okay, in those moments. But I decided to go with this lower vibration that I was discussing earlier. I decided to go with these lower energies that I discussed earlier, okay? And it led me to what? Lie and steal in that situation, okay? So, fortunately for me, right, I'm younger when I did that, and I've had time to learn, and not only learn, but incorporate these things into my life, apply the knowledge I have gained into my life, okay? And now, what do I do? Which is the same thing I'm telling you guys to do in this video. Now, I focus on things I can control, okay? I focus on my situation, okay? I'm not worried about what other people got. I'm not worried about the next man or the next woman or what anybody else has, because I've already learned. I know the truth is I have enough. I have everything I need. God gives everyone everything they need. It's up to them to recognize it. The only thing is, some people recognize sooner than others, and some people may never recognize. That's just the hard truth. But back to the topic. You don't want to give in to envy. You don't want to give in to jealousy. Because now let's go on to different things, right? Let's go on to different things, okay? Let's go into relationships. Let's go into marriage. Okay, those are things that have very, very strong implications, very strong connections built upon them. Okay, envy in those situations can cause what? Lust. People may get into a situation where they see someone else's wife. Okay, and they may be dating somebody. They already may be talking to somebody, but they see somebody else's wife and they're like, hold on, I like that. And I'm going to do everything I can to lay with this person, to get their attention, to do all this and that. And this person's already taken. Okay. And all this is a result of them being envious. All this is a result of them being jealous. Okay. That's what that is a result of. So what do? They focus on the external instead of worrying about the internal, instead of worrying about the things that they have influence over. Like, hey, I'm already in a relationship with a person. I already have this beautiful person with me. I already have a person I decided to spend time with right next to me. I have my golden ticket right next to me. I have everything I need right here. They go, nope, I don't even know what you're talking about. I want that. Okay, once again, the grass is always green on the other side. They're like, I want that. Okay, I want that. Okay. And once again, people want what they can't have. That's a saying, okay? And it's not necessarily always that they can't have it, but people tend to try to go after things that seem unobtainable, okay? When the truth is, people can obtain whatever they want. It's just that veil, it's that lens that you can't get it, that makes it so sought after. But the truth is, you get whatever you want. You get whatever you want. But people will go out of their way to create destruction for other people's lives, to interfere with other people's lives, to interfere with other people's wives, okay? Because they're envious, because they're jealous, okay? So whoever's watching, whoever's listening, I urge you, don't be envious. Don't be jealous. And if up until this point, right, because I'm a younger man once again, if up until this point, whoever's watching, whoever's listening, if up until this point you've been envious, if up until this point you've been jealous, if up until this point your envy has caused you to break up a loving home, if up until this point your envy has caused you to cause another man to sleep alone, if at the end of the day your envy has caused another woman to sleep alone, if your envy has caused you to take something from somebody else that they worked for, if your envy has caused you to look at somebody with some hatred that you don't even understand where it came from, but you believe that you're deserving of something you didn't do, okay, then this is your opportunity. I urge you, stop the envy, stop the jealousy. Understand, you have everything you need, okay? It just may take some time and it's going to take effort. But throughout that time, okay, although I do say it takes time, you will see progression though. This is what I'm telling you. So yeah, it's going to take time, but while you're putting in effort, you're going to see, oh, okay, this is what it means when it takes time. Oh, okay. There is, okay. It's not just saying it takes time to say it takes forever. No, it doesn't take forever. But it's going to seem like forever, because if you've been so used to being envious for so long, because once again, using myself as an example again, the stuff I just talked about, I was younger, okay? Like most of the stuff I did that was like crazy, I was younger, all right? So I do understand that, majority of my life I haven't been envious and jealous. But there's people who are double my age, triple my age, that have been envious, jealous, lustful their entire lives, more than half their lives. Okay, and that's hard for me to believe because I haven't done those things. So I'm like, wait, I just can't see that. But that's the truth. There's people who have been out here just living that lifestyle for so long that that's the only glasses they wear. There's people out here that have been living a lifestyle so long, that's the only stuff they hear. Okay? So once again, if you're a person out there who's been giving into your lust, has been giving into your envy, has been giving into your jealousy, okay, you can stop. You can stop, okay? Just understand that the longer you give into it, the longer you entertain it, the more difficult it will become to let it go. The more difficult it will become to prevent it from growing, okay? So just understand that. It's like watering a plant. A lot of people have been watering that plant. A lot of people have been watering that seed of envy. A lot of people have been watering that seed of jealousy for so long that that's their tree of life. That's how they gain energy. It's from being envious. It's from being jealous. That's how they gain all the nutrients they need. It's from being hateful. It's from being spiteful. Because there's people who've been doing it for so long. That's the only thing they know. That's the only way they can get energy. Okay? So I urge you to be the opposite of that. Be a person who is, you know what? I'm not envious, okay? I give people their kudos. I support people in what they do, okay? Doesn't mean you're going to be, you know what I'm saying, whatever they call it, you know what I'm saying, glazing people and doing the most, right? You're not going to be doing the most, but you can give people their props, okay? You can be like, hey, that's nice. Hey, that's what's up. You can do that, okay? Nothing wrong with that. But be a person that's gonna gain energy from what? That's gonna gain energy from focusing on the internal. Be a person that's gonna gain energy from understanding that God gave you everything you need. It's just up to you to realize it. And it's gonna get to a point where you have realized it, okay? Be a person that gains energy from the positive. Be a person that gains energy from the laughter. Be a person that gains energy from the truth. Be a person that gains energy from everything that's beneficial to the internal you, to the spirit, to the soul, okay? Everything that's beneficial to God, okay? Be a person that gains energy from doing the right thing. Be a person that gains energy from not lying. Be a person that gains energy from not spying. Be a person that gains energy from really putting in the work to better yourself, to better your connection, to better your health, to better your spirit, to better your soul, okay? That's the goal. Be the person that gains energy from there. Be a person that's watering this tree of life. So when people try to chop it down, they can chop as many trees as they want. Okay, they can take down as many trees as they want, try to dig up all the seeds that they can. It ain't gonna work. It ain't gonna work. It ain't gonna work because the truth is too powerful. Okay, the source is too powerful. They can do whatever they want. It's not gonna work. This seed is deeply ingrained. It's gonna grow somewhere else. And guess what? All that's positive, all the light, all that spirit, all the soul's gonna be attracted to it because it's positive. That's where you gain your energy from, okay? Because it's not a parasitic relationship. It's not a relationship that you have to take away from something to gain. It's a relationship that is a homeostasis, okay? It's a balanced relationship. It's a relationship where you give because you are able to receive. That is the relationship, okay? So once again, it's a relationship that is a homeostatic. It's a homeostasis relationship. You can give because you receive. You don't give because you're over here taking from other people. No, no, no. Leave that to the people who are envious. Leave that to the people who are jealous, okay? Leave that to the people who gain energy from being spiteful, who gain energy from being envious, who gain energy from being lustful, okay? Leave that to the people who do not have the self-control, okay, the self-awareness to understand that once you say no to your spirit, once you no longer want to be guided by your soul, but you only want to be guided by the desires of your emotions that are going to tell you to go sleep with this and that person, that's going to tell you to envy this and that. That's going to tell you to be jealous of this and that. That's going to tell you to gossip about this and that. It's going to tell you to go lie about this and that because it doesn't matter, right? Okay? No. Okay? So, understand that when it comes to dealing with temptation, it's not going to be easy, okay? And it's not supposed to be, okay? Once again, there's a lot of people that have gone the majority of their lives, their whole lives, without ever having a conversation with themselves to go, hey, you know what? Maybe I need to try something different, okay? Because, hey, although the lust and envy may have been working, right? And that's the trick. It seems like it's working, right? Me gossiping, there's a lot of people that want to gossip about this. There's a lot of people that are envious about this, and we get along perfectly fine. There's a lot of people that are lustful about this, and we're perfectly fine. You seen this girl on TV? Yeah, me and the homies, me and the bros, we get along perfectly fine when we're talking about all these women, right? We get along perfectly fine when we're talking about all the stuff we hate. Dang, man, look at this person. That's the trick right there. Just because so many people are doing it and you can do it doesn't mean you should do it. Okay? So, hey, that's the video. Hope you took something from this that you can apply to your life to result in a positive, productive, constructive outcome. With that being said, that's the video. Hope you enjoyed. Peace.